OSP sessions that you are about to attend, there are 4 base requests that we make. One is that within these sessions, which are typically limited to only 15 people, and the reason being, we have found that with more than 15 people, some people go silent, some people dominate. It's very difficult to get the impressions of everyone in the room. So we try to limit these planning sessions to 15 people. But we ask that the individuals who attend speak unguardedly and in confidence, that while you're in this room and you're attending these sessions, that you feel comfortable in talking about anything that is an impediment, difficult, uncomfortable. Let's get to the root of that. The second part of this process is to mutually pursue truth. We function as peers in these meetings, no ego. We're not looking to try to prove that we're the smartest person in the room. Our goal is to get all of the ideas on the table and to listen to the other perspectives that we're bringing to the table. During OSP sessions, we focus on what needs to be done. It's the what, not the how. We're not trying to figure out exactly how we're going to accomplish a task. It's just identifying the most critical factors that lead to outstanding performance. So remember that during the sessions that you will attend, the focus is on what has to be done, not how. And the final recommendation as a request is that you adopt what is called the sole shareholder perspective. And what that means is that you are presenting what has to be done and what is important and what might be the obstacles as though you owned 100% of the shares of the company, that you had every decision that you could make to improve the value, to increase the value of a company, improve the service to your customers, and deliver outstanding performance. Those decisions are yours and you run the company. So in other words, you sit in the role of the CEO or the chairman of the company. You're not making these decisions solely for your organization. We want to do what is best in the best interest of the entire entity. There are 3 critical factors to the program of managing for outstanding performance. There's the philosophy first, and then there is a process that we'll go through, and then finally a set of principles. Today, the focus is on the philosophy. This is the underpinnings of how the program, what it's based upon, and how you can operate and what we're trying to achieve in working as teams. So this presentation will present that to you. There is also a Q&A document, and the link is shown below in the highlighted area at the bottom of this page. It's on a Google Drive, and you can download each one of the items that are here with the red asterisk. This presentation is available to you in PDF form, as well as the QA document. The second part of this, beyond the philosophy, is the process itself. How do we define outstanding success possibilities? They are called OSPs. And sometimes this process is called the OSP process rather than managing for outstanding performance. So you will go through that as you approach your first OSP session. And then after that session, you'll be given instructions as to how to manage the day-to-day activities and report your progress. And then at the end of a period, probably 6 months, each 6 months, you'll be shown how to assess the attainment of goals. So the process will be described after your first OSP planning session. Then the third level is a series of principles, and they're management principles that will help an organization to define exactly how they want to behave, how we want to treat each other, what our ideals are, how we operate day to day, how we treat customers, how we solve problems. Now, what I've found typically is that organizations don't document principles. And principles are something that in my belief, should be defined by the CEO. So what I've drafted here for you are the principles that I use in the organizations that I manage. They're not an unabridged list, and by no means am I suggesting that you apply every one of them exactly as I have defined it. But I thought it would be helpful for you to see a set of draft principles that I've refined over the years that I believe help to contribute to outstanding performance and greater team cohesion. So my suggestion here is that this be offered up to senior management, to CEOs and senior leaders, as a way of using this as a starting point to draft their own principles. And you can take a look at mine and make recommendations to your team as to what you think the principles of the organization should be. It's merely a discussion document. And again, that is on the Google Drive and made available to you. While we can agree that these two individuals, Lumen and Umstead, achieved outstanding performance, let's take a look at why it may be more complicated and require a different set of skills to achieve outstanding performance for organizations. As we begin to approach this, it's very helpful to look at what the problems are that we're trying to solve. And I have been able to witness these problems over and over and over in operational plans that I've reviewed. In one case, I went into a company that had about 4,000 employees in many divisions. And I asked to see the operating plans at the top level, the senior executives' operating plan for each year, what their goals and objectives were for the year, and then to see their performance reports at the end of the year. Fascinating. There was no correlation between what they were reporting they accomplished and what the original plan was, or almost none, very, very little, and a lot of rationalization. So what's causing this? Well, what we've determined is that as you can look over this list, there is a resistance to high bar goals. People don't like to be asked to push themselves beyond what might make their bonus available at the end of the year, or what might put their teams at risk, or might embarrass them. So getting to a high bar goal for an organization is a really tough. There's resistance there in a lot of organizations until you can break down the walls and show people that they would not be at risk if they follow a different approach. There's a lack of alignment in thinking among management teams. There's resistance to change. This is the way that we've done it forever. There is internal competition from department to department. You know, we need more money in our department, and you don't deserve it. Or we're going to show you that we have all of the answers and we're competing with you. There is an inability to make trade-offs from group to group. So if the business turns down, who is going to have to make the sacrifices? And there's a recurring pattern of missed targets and obfuscation at the end of the year where you try to rationalize what has been done. So the realization is that this is not unique to a couple of companies. What I found is that these are the patterns that exist in most companies. And our goal for, if we want to attain outstanding success, is to try to overcome a lot of these things so that we can get to a higher level of performance. Another problem is dealing with change in organizations and how you address that. So if you're trying to achieve outstanding performance, starting at the top left of this screen, we have shifting realities in our business. We have new opportunities that come up. We have our market, our customers are demanding different things, and they change their needs over time. We have M&A activities. We might acquire another business. We might be acquired. Our competitors may acquire someone that we consider to be critical. Investors are making demands, regulatory changes, crises that occur where we have a problem within the company. Our competition introduces a new product. And all of this happens on a moment-by-moment basis while we're trying to formulate a strategy. And in some organizations, the strategic development groups are large, and they spend months and months and months, and they hire outside consultants to develop these copiously detailed strategy plans. And then they have to translate that into an operating plan, translate that into departmental plans so every department is in line, and then translate that to what their employees are doing. And what we've discovered is that the first observed failure is that in spite of tremendous efforts, operating plans most often don't accomplish the desired outcomes, that there's a break between this beautiful strategy and what people then plan to do during the year. And this disconnect is fascinating. Again, looking at operating plans over and over and over, and then tagging it back to what's your strategy. Quite often, the money is not being spent on the things that they have determined were the most important. And this goes on. Now, the operating plan of the senior team is then translated into departmental plans. And these plans become more and more diffused. And then we send them down to our employees, and there is almost no relationship between those plans and the strategy. So now we want to focus on something different, and that is, what do people do? How do we look at expected results, and how do we get predictable outcomes? The conventional thinking is to focus on these two arrows in the center. That is, do we have the right skills in place? Do we have the right people? And then the second thing that we focus on is, do we have the right processes, systems? Do we need to invest more in a really good accounting system to have our numbers right? Do we need a way of tracking everything that's going on? And that's the extent of focusing on believing that if we have those things in place, we can get to great results. But what often happens at the end of the year is that we've sub-optimized. We've gotten something less than what we set out to do. So what do we traditionally do? What's the conventional thinking? Let's go back and re-examine these things. You know what? We don't have the right people. Their skills are not quite right. We need to hire a different set. We have to upgrade our skills. We need more investment in the systems. And what happens when you do that over and over is that not only often do you wind up burdening your team with this constant change of people moving in and out, and this constant belief of having to invest in systems and tracking things in more and more detail, is that you find that people wear down. And over time, they not only achieve less, they begin to work on different things because it's too hard to get approval, and it becomes subversive. That is the kiss of death. That's when it goes from average performance to poor performance. So what's going on? What should we be focused on? And what is the greatest challenge in predictable outcomes? The greatest challenge lies on the left side of this equation, and that is the way people think. Their perceptions, their differing values, they have different principles for what they believe, how a company should run. They have needs and fears. You may have someone who has a family and has a lot of personal financial risk, a child going off to college, a family with special needs. The income is important. They're not going to be prone to high risk. Yet you'll have another individual who may be wild and eager and doesn't really care about the risk, and they want to shoot for the stars. How do you bring them together? Motivations are different, personal circumstances, past experiences. My company used to do it this way, and it was good, and I think we should be trying to do it this way. I don't agree with these goals. This is where the biggest problem lies. Until you can address the unity on this side, the skills themselves and the processes alone will get you diminishing returns. It's the left side that needs the attention.